All right, welcome, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday. We're so excited for another Tuesday. We want to welcome you all in to the Career Lounge Live. We're going to get started in just a minute. Give you guys time to go ahead and come into the group. Yes, all right. So, welcome to Career Lounge Live. My name is Elizabeth, and our Career Lounge Live is designed to help you be a greater you. This lounge is here to help middle and high school students prepare for life after high school. We all know that failing to plan is planning to fail, and we definitely don't want any one of you to fail after high school. So we're excited about today's topic. Today's topic is called Showing Your Best, and we're going to talk about some interview skills, right? So what we're going to do is learn about how to prepare for an interview, like what to do before an interview, what to do during an interview, or what to expect during an interview, as well as some etiquette for that interview, right? So how should we behave when we're in the interview? What should we say? Things we should and shouldn't do. We're going to talk about all of that today. So while you're signing in and coming into our group, please invite your friends to our Facebook group. If they are already a member, go ahead and tag them in this live so that they can get this wonderful information as well. If you are catching the replay, please type in hashtag replay so that we know that you're watching it even after this is done. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box in the comment section below. We will be answering questions throughout today's session. So any questions that you may have about interviewing, what that looks like, any tips or extra things that you have, maybe you've been on an interview already and you have some questions about it, please feel free to put those questions in the comment section, and we will definitely go ahead and answer that for you. So once again, we want to thank you all for joining us. Please invite your friends on into our Facebook group, and we are about to get started. So first, we want to do a special thanks to Career Lounge Live sponsor, EXL. They are a leading data analytics and digital operations and solutions company. To learn more about EXL, please visit them at www.exlservice.com. Thanks to their sponsorship, we're able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. All right. And we absolutely love being here with you all every Tuesday. So thank you so much to EXL, our wonderful sponsors. Again, if you're just signing in and you have any questions, please feel free to comment them in our in the comments section. Today's topic, again, is going to be showing your best. And we are going to be talking about that interview that's going to get you that amazing job. So before we jump into that, I would like to talk a little bit more about L.O.V.E Our Youth. L.O.V.E Our Youth is a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing programs for youth throughout Central Florida. Our mission is to encourage youth to embrace their self-worth and value life's lessons in order to maximize their potential. Today, we understand that decisions can be made by applying a process, and that learning this process is critical to making all decisions in life, including those about career choices. So today, we are going to jump in and we're going to talk about some characteristics about the interview session. We're going to talk about documents and how to prepare for your interview session. We're going to talk about what to do during the interview session and what to do after that interview session. But before we jump into our presentation today, we would like to welcome our special guest, Ms. Jennifer. We would like Ms. Jennifer to share with us a little bit about her career, how she got into it, and any great tips that you can give for our students today. Ms. Jennifer?
Yes, yeah, I'm so excited to be here. So my name is Jen Stone. I've been in marketing for the last 15 years. I've been with EXL for 2, and I am the AVP for marketing for our digital business unit. So I actually started my career in fashion design. And so I get asked all the time how I moved from fashion into the tech sector. And really, I like to call myself a creative storyteller. So in a way, for me, brand has been like a passion of mine my entire life. When I was 10 years old, I started a fashion business and created a brand for myself. And I still run that passion project 27 years later. So in my career, I've really focused the last 15 years in marketing, mostly within tech, building brands and brand stories through design, content, marketing campaigns, social media, across all kind of company channels. And I just love the idea of telling EXL story and telling the story of tech. As I kind of moved in my career, I really learned that I love being creative, but I also just love working with technical people who are passionate and learning to work with them and translate their message into the market. So I'm very excited to be here to talk about branding yourself and branding yourself in interviews.
Yes, I love it. And I love how you said creative storyteller.
Yes.
And I thought about this when you said it. Oftentimes we go into positions and yes, they give you a title, but once you get into that position and you really understand how it works and how it navigates, chances are you can give yourself a subtitle
Yes.
that really speaks a little bit more to what it is you do, and explains to people more often. I remember my dad would get a new position in his job, he would get promoted. People say, well, what does he do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the title means. It's too much, but being able to break it down in that way, I think is really helpful for our students to understand, like, this is what you're doing. This is really embodying what you're doing. And it's something that you love to do and your passion. So I'm excited as we go through today's session to definitely hear more about your journey in your space, and how that can help our kids move forward. So thank you so much, Miss Jen. We are going to go ahead and jump into our presentation for today. So I will be sharing our presentation with you all momentarily because I always forget how to share a screen. And we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so today's presentation is all about showing your best. And we want to make sure that you have the tools necessary to show your best when you show up to a job interview. Getting a job is a very, it's like a stepping stone in life. It's a real crucial part of life. We all see, you've seen your parents work, or aunts and uncles, family members, other people working. And a lot of times it's like, oh, you work just to get money so you can pay bills. But that's not all that getting a job is. It's about the things that you like to do. It's about being creative in those spaces, or using your skill set and your knowledge to advance in these spaces. And so we want to talk about, when you go for that interview, how are you utilizing all of that information to ensure, number one, that this job is a good fit for you, right? Because even though you're going to an interview and we know that that employer is interviewing you, you're interviewing them too, to ensure that this is a great place for you to be able to work, that they meet your standards as of a workplace. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into it today. We're going to go our lesson objectives: how to prepare yourself and documents before an interview, what to expect during the interview, and also understanding etiquette after an interview. And that follow-up etiquette is so important when it comes to employers and getting a job. So let's jump right into it, right? Ooh, I went too far. Let me go back. Nope, still went too far. Sorry, guys. I'm still figuring out text some days. Okay, this is where I wanted to stop. Okay, so we're going to take easy steps to an excellent job interview. So we're just going to kind of go down the list a little bit. In a job interview, an employer learns about you and you learn about the job in the workplace. Just what I just told you all. Yes, you're going to be interviewed, so you're going to put your best foot forward at all times. But while you're in that interview, I want you to pay attention to what that employer is telling you about the workspace, about the work that you're going to be doing, about the other employees that are there. These are all things that are important to know when choosing a job, not just how much does it pay. That's important too, but sometimes it's not all about how much you're getting paid. Also, most hiring decisions are made based on your qualifications and your job and the job interview. So do your research before you go into these job interviews to make sure that your qualifications meet their standards, right? So you're checking the boxes that they're asking for in that job description before you even apply. Practice and preparation will give you confidence to do your best. Use these tips to get ready before, during, and after your interview. All right. Any opening thoughts, Miss Jen?
No, I think you covered it. It's so important to be overly prepared. And like you said, just to feel more confident. And I really like to use the first interview, especially usually it's with like the recruiter or the talent leader to really like understand the company. So when I go into that second interview, I know about the company. I really understand the role. So you're really prepared. So yeah.
Yes, I love it. Yes, preparation is going to be a major part of being ready for an interview and any information that they may ask while you're in that interview. So what to do before the interview, right? So we're talking about preparation, and some of these tips that we have, you may chuckle at, you may laugh at, but they are very serious things that can make or break your interview. And so we start with something simple, brushing your teeth and using mouthwash. And you may chuckle, I know I chuckled at this, but it does really help you put your best foot forward. It helps you freshen up, especially if your interview is later in the day, you've been out most of the day, you've been talking to other people, you've been eating food, you don't want to have food in your teeth, you don't want to have, the smell of your lunch on your breath when you go in to speak with the interviewers, because we don't want to have anything that's going to distract them from getting to the point of the interview. Okay. And sometimes, and if you've ever stood next to someone who has bad breath, you will understand how much of a distraction that can be. But we always want to present ourselves putting our best foot forward. So hygiene is very important, which leads us to our second step, which is your hair. It should be clean and combed as best you can. Try to make it a little bit tidy. And that'll be helpful. That goes along with your nails as well. Have them clean and trimmed. This doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that you have to have nail polished and beautifully manicured nails. And that's not necessarily going to make or break the interview, but just having a clean look on your hands. You're going to be shaking people's hands. I don't know if you've ever went to shake someone's hand and looked at their hand and said, ooh, this is not what you want them to say to you. So you want to make sure your nails are clean, they're trimmed, you don't have hangnails, they're not, just clean and trim. That's the best way I can say it. And then also you want to be conservative, right? Err on the side of caution if you're not sure about something. So for instance, if the company does not have a dress code, remember that it's better to overdress than underdress. Okay, so this may mean, having an extra jacket or a sweater, making sure that your arms are covered or your sleeves are covered. It might be cold in the location. It may, so you want to make sure that you have what you need in order to be comfortable in that interview, right? I've gone into buildings and I've been so cold, just ice cold, that your body tenses up. You may not realize that you have a look about you, but you have a look and the look says, I'm freezing. I cannot wait to get out of here. And that's also becomes a distraction as well. But err on the side of caution and overdress rather than underdress. Your clothing says a lot about you when you walk into the room. So for our men, you can look professional wearing one of the many style suits that are available today. Shirts should be cleaned and ironed. I know ironing is like a thing of the past, but at least try. Throw it in the dryer, get it warm, but they should definitely be cleaned and ironed. And if in doubt, wear a classic or conservative tie. Women, you can definitely look professional in your best business attire. And so I'm going to go back to saying, these steps may seem like, oh yeah, I know these, but this is a good reminder of, a checklist that you can do prior to even leaving your house, right? To go for this interview, making sure you brush your teeth. I don't know about you, but there's days where you can get so caught up in what's going on. It's easy to say, did I brush my teeth? Again, afternoon interview, you brushed them this morning when you left the house. What about now at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? And you've gone through an entire day. So just making sure you have that, even if you need to take a little bag out the house with you that has these kinds of stuff in it, a comb for your hair, or, whatever it is that you can freshen, so that you can freshen up prior to going into the interview, is going to be a really good thing to have with you. I feel like I missed a page. Wait, let me go back. Okay, no, I didn't. All right, I'm sorry, guys. I thought I missed a page. Okay, so we talked about clothing. So there's 3 styles of clothing here that we're showing everyone. And the different styles of clothing definitely go to, it definitely depends on where it is that you're going. That may determine the style of clothes. So we have business formal, smart casual, and business casual. And we have both for men and women. So if you can look at these, if you look at all 3 of them, you'll see there's differences that may look a little slight, real small differences, but they make a difference. So for business formal, men are wearing formal attire. That's a full suit, jacket, pants, tie, button-up shirt, collared button-up shirt with the leather shoes, nice dress socks. For the women, you're looking at a traditional suit that's possibly on the feminine side, or what fits your style. Making sure that you have on slacks or pants, please no jeans in the business formal. And you can either wear a nice heel, pump, or even a flat shoe if you're not used to wearing heels. And I would say when it comes to shoes, err on the side of comfort, but make sure they go with the outfit, aka no sneakers. Smart casual, you're looking for the men, it's a little less dressed. We're looking at more neutral colors, a neutral shirt that's buttoned down, but it doesn't necessarily have to have a jacket. You can have casual pants that are possibly a neutral color. Your shoes can be more on the comfortable side. Again, we're still not at the level of wearing sneakers, but you can definitely have a more comfortable side to it. For the women, again, we're still staying with those neutral colors. Your shirts can even have a pattern, but maybe a mild pattern, neutral color on the pants, and of course, casual heels. And then for business casual, this is where you have a button up, but for the men, a button up, but maybe not necessarily a tie. You do have a blazer or a sports jacket on to kind of dress it up a little bit. Again, neutral colored pants, blue, navy, gray, those are pretty good colors. And then your shoes as well. For the women, we're looking at a blouse, a very nice tailored neutral colored blouse. You can add a blazer or a sweater, whatever your preference may be, and that can be dependent on where you're going. Tailored dress pants, and again, comfortable pumps or shoes, or like a fancy flat would be perfect in that type of setting. So here are some different ways that you can dress. And when you're going on an interview, take into consideration the job that you're going for. There's a saying, they say dress for success, right? And so you want to always dress your best. Even if you walk into the office and you feel like you're overdressed, err on the side of caution and overdress as opposed to underdress, okay? You don't want to come in a smart casual look and it's a real business office where everybody has suit and tie and button-up collars. Then you're going to feel underdressed. And so err on the side of caution and overdress if you must. Jen, you have any comments about clothing?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. My background, I've worked with a lot of tech startups who dress in jeans and t-shirts every day. And I still, as you mentioned, focus more on like a business formal, smart casual. So even if maybe you've noticed online through their social that they tend to be dressed more casual, even for interviews, I do always dress up. unless they reach out to you ahead of time. So out of all the interviews I've had, I only had one reach out ahead of time and saying, hey, please feel free to dress casual for this. But other than that, I always kind of put my business formal attire forward. And I think when you said earlier, you're right. It's, it might sound silly, but it makes a difference. You never get a second chance to make a great first impression. And one note that I've read in the past is studies show that the first 60 seconds of meeting someone is when they make the first impression of you. So it's not just of how you dress, it's how you treat others. So I think putting your best foot forward in your dress and being aware is so important.
Yes, absolutely. Doing that. And while you were talking, I also had a thought. We didn't cover dresses in this. And I like to wear dresses, so I'm going to cover dresses. If you are looking at wearing a dress for our women, a cap sleeve at least. Don't go in spaghetti straps. Don't go with no straps. This is not a tube top kind of attire, but you want to have at the very least a cap sleeve, something that covers your shoulders. You can have a dress that is a dress that complements your shape, preferably a dress that comes to your knees, and a shoe. We can follow this trends here of the same type of shoe, but you want to make sure that it is something that is on the business side. So we don't want something that has a lot of prints. You can go with a solid color. You can have one and put a blazer over it. If you want to have multiple colors, you can have the blazer be a different color than the dress. Of course, matching colors. That's something else that you can consider if you prefer to wear a dress to an interview. Same thing if you like to do a skirt and a blouse, a two-piece ensemble. That's where I would go back to looking at the smart casual side that we have here, where you can have a very nice neutral blouse that maybe has a mild pattern on it, a neutral color for your skirt with some casual heels on. You can take that smart casual and make that work if you're the type of person that likes to wear a dress or a skirt. And that will still keep it within the space that you need to be in with an interview. All right. So if you guys have any questions, for those of you that are still joining us, please feel free to put questions in the comments section, and we'll definitely answer any questions, especially if you have questions about clothing, which is very important. Again, you can utilize what you have. We're not saying you need to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe. But if you do know you're getting ready to go into a space where you're going to be doing a lot of interviews, you can buy basic pieces. Black is always good. It interchanges with a lot of different colors. Your blacks, your navies, your grays are all going to be really good colors to have in your closet. So going forward with interviews, we talked about shoes, wearing dress shoes. Your shoes should be clean and or shined. And I know we don't see a lot about shining shoes now, but, just make sure that there's not, if you can, no scuff marks, that they're not, have a lot of dust on them because maybe you had to pull them out the closet. You don't wear them often, but you just want to kind of wipe them down and just make sure they look their best. Knowing the exact time and location of your interview. If you are driving, this is a must. If you are taking public transportation, this is a must. You do not want to show up late for any interview. Any interview. So if your interview is at 2:00 in the afternoon, schedule yourself to be there. It says, we say about 15 minutes before the interview, but I would say at least 30. Give yourself time to get lost. Give yourself time to find parking, especially if there was no mention of parking. Give yourself time to breathe and relax before going into the interview. Sometimes, especially if you're driving, just drive up, park, and for the first 15 minutes, just sit and breathe. Think about, your stuff, maybe review your resume one more time, just take that time for yourself so that you're not rushing, and then go inside after 15 minutes, right? So you give yourself that time and that space. Finding restrooms to freshen up is really great. Most buildings, you can do that at arriving 15 minutes before your interview time. This allows you to fill out any extra forms or applications that might be required. And I think of this like how when you go to like a doctor's office, they always have forms they want you to fill out, and they hand you a clipboard with like 10 pieces of paper, and you got to go back and sit down, right? Think of it the same way when you go to a new company for an interview process. There may be certain things that they want you to fill out. And even if they don't, that's okay. Still, being early is a good thing. Number 8 is very, very crucial. If you have a cell phone, turn it off. I'll say that again. If you have a cell phone, turn it off. Turn it off. Do not put it on do not put it on vibrate. I wouldn't even put it on silent. I would turn it completely off, because it is our norm now to look and check our phones. However, in an interview space, this is not what you want to do. Even if you arrive 15 minutes early and they don't have anything for you to do, and you're just sitting in the office looking at the receptionist for 15 minutes, please just sit and look at the receptionist for 15 minutes. This is not a time to be on TikTok. This is not a time to check your Facebook. This is not a time to have a conversation with anyone. All of that should be done before you step into the office. That is really important, because, and you'll see when we get down further down the list, people are watching you from the minute you walk in the office. Your 60 seconds does not begin when you introduce yourself to the person that is interviewing you. It begins the minute you open the door to that office. That receptionist, any employee that walks past, anybody that says hello, maybe even somebody in the hallway. You don't know who any of these people are, and you don't know what information they may pass on about something they saw. You're not sure who's involved in the hiring process at that moment. So we want to put our best foot forward for everyone. So no phones, please turn it off. Bring extra copies of your resume. Do not assume that they have a copy just because you emailed it or attached it to, uploaded it to a website, etc. Bring a fresh copy of your resume, preferably in a Miss Jen, what is that called? I just lost what they are.
Like in a folder?
Yeah, like those folders. It can be a regular manila folder or something. Just have it in something so that you're not just walking around with paper in your hand. Is what I'm really getting to. You want to have it in a nice location that it's like, hey, I opened up this folder and I have 4 copies of this resume. And you want to have that available for anyone that you are going to interview with. And then this last, treat people that you encounter with courtesy and respect. Again, we do not know who's going to be involved in the hiring process, but also you don't know who exactly you're going to be working with. And it's just really nice to be a nice person. We don't have any reason not to be courteous and nice to people. So let's just be courteous and nice. And then, of course, always approach the interviewer with confidence. When you walk into that room, hello, my name is, hand out to shake hands if that's what we're doing, and just have that confidence like, yes, this is me. Miss Jen, anything you'd like to add here?
I think you covered it. I know you said ate a lot with your cell phone, but it is just really important. And I think like, even though it feels uncomfortable just sitting there, it's better to almost be like aware that maybe someone's coming up to you. So if you're distracted looking down your phone or even reading something, you might be jolted or unaware that, of your surroundings. I think it's so important to be on time. And as you said, just put your cell phone away, because it really does make an impression.
Yes, absolutely. And even while you're sitting there in that time, and you're being aware of your surroundings, that can really help you more than you think when you step into the interview room. So, you can watch what's going on. If you can see into the actual office and see other people working, like, it's nice to just smile, be inviting, be welcoming, look, like you're happy to be there.
Yeah,
But
I've learned so much by sitting in that room waiting for people and be able to people watch and see how they interact and see what's the office is like. It's so important. It's a good time.
yes. And it helps you understand that this is a place you want to be at.
Yeah.
Like all of this, again, do not forget that you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. So be aware of what's going on and see how everything is being navigated within the office. So now let's get into during the interview, right? So we talked about all the prep work. Now you're in the interview. They've called you back into the room. You're sitting with the person that's going to interview you. Here's a few steps. Make a positive and professional first impression. And we've already talked about first impressions, and we know that it starts before you enter this room. But here's your second chance. And I know we say we don't get a lot of second chances, but here's another chance to make a first impression if this is the first time you're seeing the interviewer, right? So you still have to impress the interviewer in that moment. So don't think your 60 seconds have passed and that's it, and you don't have to impress the person that's interviewing you. You absolutely do. So make a positive and professional first impression for the interviewer as well. Listen to the interviewer's name and correct pronunciation. There's a lot that goes into listening to their title, their name, and how they pronunciate it. It's major. It is major. Address them by title. If you know the title, address them by the title. Smile. Smiles go a long way. It calms you. It keeps everybody else in the room calm. It adds to, making the situation just a little bit better. If you're sitting there and you're frowning, it's going to make people not want to talk to you. You're going to look less inviting. You're going to look, possibly less like a person that should be working here. So put on a smile, stay calm, good eye contact. And you may feel eye contact is not comfortable. I'm not saying you have to stare the person down, but you do have to look them in the face. Like, acknowledge that they're sitting across from you or wherever they are within the room. We don't want you looking down the whole time. Like, looking down like this is not going to help you in your interview. Looking up at the ceiling or off to the side is not going to help you. Focus on the person that you're talking to. It gives a sense of conversation. It gives a sense that you're listening, that you are interested in what's going on. And just think about if it was, your turn to speak and the interviewer is doing 1,000 other things and you just feel like you're not being heard. Making that eye contact has a way of making people feel heard. And you want them to do the same to you. Avoid cracking jokes with the interviewer. Take notes if necessary. Take notes during your interview. It'll help you remember some things. Write down some key things, even if you have to write down people's names and titles. That's important, and you'll find out that's important for the steps after the interview as well. So, if you have the ability to, make sure you're writing down their names, their titles, and any other important information that you have. I will add to this list because I don't think it's here. I just thought about it. Before you go into your interview, you can have a list of questions that you want to ask as well. And as the interview takes place, you can ask those questions. And most interviewers will ask you if you have any questions. And this is your time to step in and say, well, I was reviewing your information and I had a question about this. Could you expand on that? Or I heard about, this is that time to get that information, because again, you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. Okay, so have your questions ready and you can have them on a notepad. Listen and pause before answering questions. Give your responses some thought. Okay. Respond to questions and back up your statements with specific examples whenever possible. If it is a question about a scenario that you may have, a particular scenario, you may want to give information of a relatable story to that scenario where you were able to handle certain situations. And I promise they'll ask that, what was a time when you were able to handle this type of scenario? Just be ready for that, but think about it before you go in. Like, before you speak, think about how you're going to answer the question. Ask questions for clarification. If you don't understand a question, please ask for clarification. It's not going to take points off of your interview process, but it will definitely make sure that you understand what's going on, and that they also understand that you understand what's going on. Be thorough in your responses, reinforce your professionalism and your ability to communicate effectively. It's really hard to not say it's so hard not to say but practice trying not to say as much as possible. And see, I just did it. Practice not saying it as much as possible, so that you can have the conversation that you want. Be honest, be yourself. We talk a lot about authenticity. Be yourself, because that's who you're going to show up as to work every day. So be yourself, within reason, within boundaries. Be smart about being yourself. And again, this is not to say you have to be someone you're not. We're just saying be mindful of the position and the space that you're in when you are being yourself. Exhibit a positive attitude. Treat the interview seriously. It's not a joke. It's not a game. This can be the difference between you getting the job or not getting the job. And that can really affect your life outside of the job. Make sure you understand the employer's next steps in the hiring process. And again, if you are not familiar with them or not understanding them, don't hesitate to ask. Questions are not bad in an interview. We have to ask questions so that you know what's going on, because the next step may be something that you have to do. And if you're not aware of it and you don't do it, you may not get the job. And so we want to make sure that you know what the next step is. If there's any information where you can find out the response to that before going into the interview, find it. Again, this goes back to doing some research beforehand. And so if you've already researched the process, then when you are talking with the interviewer, it's just for clarification. Okay, my understanding is the next step is A, B, and C. And they're going to say, why, yes, it is. That lets them know that you've researched, that you understand what the job is about, you understand how they work, what their process and procedures are. It says so much about you when you can when you can show that you already know certain things. And that's just through doing your research. Okay. Ms. Jen, I know this was an extensive list, but do you have any key points that you would like to add here?
Yeah, I love these tips. Yeah, I think I always like to end with stating again my excitement to join the company, thank them. I'm so excited to join your company. I really enjoyed our conversation today. And as you said, I think being prepared to ask questions at the end is vital. In my experience, it shows that you're enthusiastic and interested in the position. I think it's also important to personalize those questions based on their title. So questions that you would maybe ask the talent interview or HR interview would be very different than the questions you might ask the leader who's the growth leader who's running the company. So I think that is super, super important to think about and plan before you head in to make sure that you have a question at the end.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's key what you said about tailoring the questions to the person. And before you go in, you may not know who to tailor the question to, but as you're going through the interview process, and paying attention to who's in the room, paying attention to their titles, etc., it'll start to make sense who you need to ask what questions to, or ask it to all of them. Sometimes it just may be a more of a general question where it's like, hey, this is what I'm looking at, et cetera, et cetera. So, having those, but have those questions available. It always sounds, I think sometimes people think it sounds nice to say, I don't have any questions, but in reality, that interviewer wants you to have questions.
Yes.
They want to hear your side of it. They want to know what you're thinking. They want to know what your perception of, the job, the functions, the company, they want to know your thoughts, because that also helps them decide in whether or not they're going to pick you. So sometimes not saying anything, it doesn't really help you. Instead, use this as a time to show your independence, your go-getterness, your, we can add a bunch of adjectives and titles to it, but show them your interests. Show them that this was not just a random job that you decided to apply for, but that this job or this company is one that you would feel comfortable working with, one that you're interested in working with. And that's what some of those questions do. And they get a little bit of insight into you. We talked about being yourself, being honest, those questions are where they get to see a little bit about who you are based off the questions that you're asking. And that helps them also get to understand you better. And you never know, you may ask a question and they're like, that was a really great question. And they may even add it to their process after that. So don't think that any question you have is a bad question. Ask your questions, get your clarification, make your decision. You're making a decision the same way they are making a decision. And until you sign on the dotted line, you still have control of that decision. Let's move on. So after the interview, right? So we talked about what to do to prepare for the interview. We talked about what to do during the interview. And guys, we gave a lot of information. We gave a lot of tips. And it's because we want you to be very successful in this space. We want you to go into these interviews with an understanding and a knowledge of what to expect, what to look forward to, what to do. We don't want to leave you at an interview and you're going, but I didn't know, right? So we want to help you know as much as possible. So please, 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 if you have questions, go ahead and drop the questions in the comments and we will definitely answer those for you. But once the interview is over, okay, ask your questions. You've been interviewed and you got clarification and now you're leaving the interview. First and foremost, go back to the car and breathe. You need a moment to breathe. But before you do that, please be professional all the way to the car. All the way to your car, the bus stop, wherever it is, however, whatever your means of transportation is to leaving that interview. Hold your professionalism all the way through all of that. Once you get into the car, then you can breathe. Okay, it's over. What's going to happen is your brain is going to start processing that entire interview. It's going to start processing that entire interview. While you're processing that entire interview, think about things that maybe you didn't get an opportunity to say, right? Then something that maybe you forgot, something that didn't quite come up, maybe the conversation veered off a little to the left, maybe you ran out of time. But if there's something that you forgot to say during the interview that you feel would add value to that interview, write it down. Okay? Because within the next 24 hours, what you're going to do is you are going to, well, let me back up. Before you leave, please shake the interviewer's hand. Let me back up a step. Before you leave the interview, actually, thank like Jen said, thank everybody for allowing you this time and space to come in and interview. Again, if you remember everybody's name, thank them by name for being a part of the interview, shake their hands. Nice firm handshake, eye contact. Again, keep that same level of professionalism that you had throughout the entire interview. Now, when we talk about the thank you notes, this is where what I was just talking about comes into play, where you can mention something that you find may have been valuable that maybe you didn't get a chance to say. And again, this is not to run down your whole resume. They already have your resume. We don't need to reiterate your resume. But if there is a key point, maybe something that you were going to mention based off the conversation, right, that you were having. You want to be able to write that down and say, during our conversation about A, B, and C, we mentioned X, Y, and Z, and my background shows that I can do A, B, and C, and and ease that into your information. But we're sending thank you notes, whether it's a thank you card, something that's handwritten that's really thanking them for the opportunity to interview for this position. And you may say, well, that sounds cheesy to send a thank you card. They haven't hired me yet. One of the things you want to do is, number one, you want to stay top of mind of anybody that you interviewed with. Okay. A lot of people are going to come in for that interview and they're going to leave that interview and never speak to them again. If this is a job that you want, you don't want to be that person. You want to send a thank you card, make it a little bit personal in the sense that, maybe thank them for something that, some information they brought up in the interview. Maybe, again, like I said, you're mentioning something that maybe you forgot to talk about, or maybe you're just saying, thank you for your time. I really appreciated being able to have this conversation with you. It doesn't have to be very complex. I always tell people a simple thank you goes a long way. Just a genuine thank you goes a long way. So think about that again, as you are coming out of the interview and you're processing the entire interview, you're going to have a lot of information. Before you put, that thank you card in the mail, I want you to just sit down with a piece of paper and just process all that information and write it out. And based off of that, you'll kind of have a better understanding of how the interview went. And so when you're sending your thank you letter, you'll know if you need to mention something that you forgot. You'll know who it is you're thanking and why you're thanking them, etc. But get your thoughts together is what I'm saying. Right after you leave that interview, while it's still fresh in your mind, especially if you're interviewing multiple jobs at a time. And then let go of any of the negatives. If you feel that you said or did something during the interview that you maybe rather would not have done, just let it go. We don't want to bring it up. We don't want to talk about it, act like it didn't happen. But really, you don't want to be in a negative space with it. Again, people know that the interview process can be very daunting. You can, feel nervous. And sometimes when people are nervous, they say or do things that they wouldn't normally do when they're not nervous. People know and they can tell. So we don't always need to draw attention to it. However, again, in your thank you, you just want to thank them for their time and thank them for being able to spend that time with you. Miss Jen, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think absolutely. The reality is that we're all really busy. And I think the hiring manager could be interviewing a dozen people and possibly sorting through hundreds of applications. Maybe they even have multiple jobs open. So following up and reminding them something high level from the conversation will help you stand out and could really help you then remember a conversation they had with you. So yeah, very important.
Yes. And so I like what you said. Remember that they're also interviewing a lot of people. So you definitely need to do something to make yourself stand out. And this thank you card can be just that, not just the thank you card itself, but the information that's inside the thank you card can make the difference. I would kind of say do a blank thank you card. That way you can actually write what you want in it, or one that's doesn't have a lot of wording from the card company. You want to make, and the reason is you want to make it personal. You don't want to say, oh, well, I have a whole box of these generic thank you cards at home and I'm just going to send them out to everyone. People know when it's generic. And so you want to put something on it that makes it more personable, that shows your personality, shows that you're qualified, and that you are in a space where you're ready for this job. Okay. So that's the tips for after an interview. So we talked about, just to kind of round things up, we talked about what to do in preparation of the interview. We talked about what to do during an interview, a lot of tips on, office etiquette, turning off cell phones, firm handshakes, eye contact. These are things that are never going to go out of style. Never going to go out of style. No matter how many interviews you go on, every person that you interview with will appreciate this list. They will appreciate you doing these things on the list. Even if you don't get the job, you still want to show up that way. You still want to show up on your best, okay? Because it may be that position may not work for you, but you don't know what they have coming down the line. They may have another position that they may feel is better suited for you, and they'll call you back. And so you always want to make sure that you're putting your best forward, because you never know what opportunities can open up while you're in this space. And I myself have even, gone on, and it's been a while. I was sharing, Ms. Jen, it's been a while since I did an interview. But I remember going into my interview, and I remember getting there early. And I remember sitting in the reception area and just smile and wave at the receptionist at the time. And, small talk, nothing major, just, hi, how was your day? Okay, everything's going well. Oh, I can sit here. Okay, that's awesome. I'll have a seat. And I just kind of sat there and just looked around, and I didn't have my phone out, made sure it was off. And at the time I had a young one. So, a lot of times it's like, well, I have a kid, I want to have my phone on. Nope. Phone is off. I'm in an interview. Anything that happens, 911 needs to be called. I'll be called second. But I just remember that after I got the job, I remember the receptionist actually came to me and she told me that they asked her They asked her about me when I came into the office. They wanted to know about that first 60 seconds that they did not see because they were in their office. And she gave them the rundown. Oh, she came in, she was very polite, she did this, she did that, she was attentive, and that was enough for them to say, we like her. and that was me being authentically me, so I carried that through working there. But even after I started working there and other people would come to interview, guess what we would do? We would check them out. And now understand we live in an age, and I'll leave you guys with this. We live in an age of social media, and it's very easy to see you before you get there. So be mindful, and we didn't have this on our list, but be mindful of what's on your social media before going to interviews for a job. If you are on your social media doing things or saying things that do not fit that job, there's a likelihood that they're going to see it before you even get there. And, if you get the interview, then okay, but definitely want to be mindful of what your social media looks like, what people are tagging you in. You may not have posted it. Somebody else may have posted it and tagged you in it. I remember when I was looking for jobs, I was like, please don't tag me in anything, people. untag, because I did, and not that things were bad, but I just, didn't want all of that. I just wanted them to see the regular profile, regular things that I post, and that was it. And so just be mindful of that social media side as well when you are going and looking for a job. And please do not walk out of the job, get in your car, open up your Facebook and say, I just had the worst interview in the world. They will find it. And so you want to be careful about that. I've been in jobs where there's specific people in the office that's what they do. They enjoy searching your Facebook page before you even get there, and they enjoy telling the boss about it. So please be mindful about that. Ms. Jen, do you have any final thoughts as we allow our students to go off and be great?
I don't think so. This is great. Thank you.
Awesome. So, did I stop sharing? Oh, yes, I did. So awesome. So, as we talked about today, I'll just share a couple of final thoughts. I want to start off by saying to our students, you got this. You are more equipped than you think to go into these interview spaces, to go into these jobs and gain this position that you're looking for. You have it in you. Go in, be yourself, be honest, be polite, be positive, all of those wonderful adjectives that we listed in the in the slide presentation. But overall, just remember, do your research. You are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you, and know why you're going into this job. What is it for? Every job you come across is not going to be a career. Some of them are just going to be a job. It's going to get you from this level to the next level. And you have to know that about your jobs. For me, I knew which jobs were going to be career and which ones were just for the time being. And I let them know. Not in a mean way, but like, for instance, when I was in school, and I'm going for my degrees. Well, if my degree doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing at this job, it's kind of like, well, you have to know that this is not where I'm going to be forever. But for now, and while I'm here, I'm going to be excellent in what I do. So just because you know you're not going to be in this job for years on top of years, it doesn't mean that you show up less than. You still show up every day. You do an absolutely amazing job. You do your best every single day, even in jobs that are not going to be your career. Because the thing is, every job you work, you will learn something from it. And the something that you learn from it will be something that you will find you can use elsewhere. Learn as much as you can. Learn how to take what you've learned and use it in other spaces. Every part of your journey, especially your journey in careers, is all stepping stones to get you where you want to go. So earlier in the month, we talked about strategic, planning out what that looks like. Your jobs that you're getting should lead to the career that you want, but know why you're there. If it's because, hey, I'm in school, I just need a job to make sure I can eat and, put gas in my car, then okay, that's what it's for. And when you get to that next step, you give your 2-week resignation and you move on to your next point in life, but you still show up every day. And I just wanted to stress that. Please show up every day. You never know who in that space will get you to that next level. And just because this particular job, you could be working at a fast food restaurant or a restaurant in general, you could be working in a field that may not be the end all be all field for you, but you never know who else is in that field and the connections they may have and the people they may know and the amazing things that they will say about you when you're not in the room. So make sure that you are showing up every day and doing your best every day. Okay. Miss Jen, you don't have any other words, right? You good?
No, I love that. I think you're right. Like thinking about sometimes jobs are just stepping stones. And I think one thing that you pointed out that I wanted to mention is there's been so many times in my career that I thought this was the perfect dream job, or this was the interview that I really wanted to get, and I didn't get it. And I think I was always thankful at the long run, finding a better job that maybe had a better fit. So like you mentioned, don't give up and know that there's jobs out there. And sometimes, as you said, there's stepping stones and they lead you into something that you didn't think was possible. So yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us. To everybody that is on the live and watching us today, we want to thank all of you for coming out to our Career Lounge live today, where we talked about how you can be great. We talked about that interview space and so many great things to talk about today. So thank you, Ms. Jen, for talking with us and sharing your information and your knowledge and your journey going through the career field and interview stages. And so to everybody on here, we want to thank you all for tuning in to Career Lounge Live. Our next one will be December 12th at 3:15. You can join us in our Facebook group. Make sure that you are inviting your friends. If you're watching the replay, please type in #replay. If you have any questions for us, please add the questions to the comments section. We would love to hear from you. Tell us if these tips are helpful or not. Tell us what your thoughts are on them. We'd love to hear it. But before we close out, we want to make sure we do a special thank you to the Career Lounge Live sponsor, EXL, a leading data analytics and digital operations and solution company. To learn more about EXL, please visit them at www.exlservice.com. Thanks to their sponsorship, we are able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. I truly enjoy getting on and talking with each of you every Tuesday on these amazing topics. So we hope that you will sign in next week, December 12th. You can join us at bit.ly/EXL Career, so bit.ly/EXL Career for our next one, or you can follow us on our Facebook, Love Our Youth Facebook group to see where we post, where you can sign up for our next class. Our next class will be on discussing budgets. So please come talk money with us. It's going to be so fun. And make sure you invite your friends. So to everybody that's on today, again, we just want to thank you all for joining us, for being here with us today and learning more about how to do your interviews before, during, and after. You guys have any questions, let us know. But until next time, we'll see you on December 12th. Thank you all.